Just before the video starts, I just want to say that this video is sponsored by Starforged. Hi! I'm Arthur, and this is part 8 in a 20-part series I am doing, covering fan-favorite successor chapters and/or warbands of Space Marines in Order of the Legions. Do you need to have seen the other parts to understand this one? No, but it would make me happy. So, Night Lords are awesome, as you would probably know having watched this channel before, and if not, hi, hello, I'm Arthur. But me saying Night Lords are awesome could probably encompass an entire video, so I'm not going to bore you with all that. What I'm going to do is, instead of doing a dissection of a random warband and discuss something that you probably wouldn't care too much about, considering the Night Lords warbands are a little bit underwritten, I'm going to do something that's probably going to end up shooting me in the foot, which is basically an entire video of slander towards Night Lords fans, because I'm going to ask a simple question. Why do people like the Night Lords so much? Because if you haven't noticed, the Night Lords fans are kind of weird, particularly weird. I think on a good day, I could probably call them just straight up freaks, but like, hey, I'm also referring to myself in that sense, because, you know, I am a Night Lords fan. But before we dive into me actually discussing why the Night Lords are so loved and why the Night Lords fans are so goddamn weird, I have some bills to pay. And also, I got a sponsor for this video, and you know them, and they have been a big supporter of this channel, so please show them some love, because they are, in fact, Starforged. The folks at Starforged have long been a friend of the channel, and there is a reason for it. I have been promoting their stuff for quite a while now, and it's because the stuff they make is actually pretty top-notch. I genuinely get compliments about the stuff I wear of theirs that they send me, so when they asked me to promote the Insignia Aquilo ring, you know I had to jump on this. I'm not much of a ring guy myself, but this is the one exception. It is a beautiful piece coming in gold and silver with a myriad of sizes for anybody from the daintiest of finger to the thickest of sausage hand. And it's probably the keystone to any Imperial player to show off at a tournament, be it on your finger or around a string around your neck like I usually tend to do. By using my link in the description, or the pinned comment, you can get 10% off your purchase of it, and you would also be supporting the channel by showing you're interested in the stuff they have to promote. So make sure to pick up your Aquilo ring now, and prove that you are in fact the Warhammer 40k. Thanks once again to Starforged for sponsoring this video. So, me paying my bills aside, and you guys supporting me, let's get into it. The fan base of the Night Lords are, off. I'm just gonna play my hand here. So if you have any Night Lords fans, and you want to kind of put them in their place, or at least point out all their deepest flaws, then send them this video. I only shame as I am in fact of their ilk. I too am a weird schizo baby who has a love for the pale stinky bats that do no harm in my eyes. This brings me to kind of talk about the fandom of the Night Lords, just so you get an idea. They are all freaks, as I said. If you are a self-confessed Night Lords fanboy, girl, NB, or what have you, I hope you know that you are a freak and weird, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I am of this kin. I love the Night Lords, and I'll break down a lot of reasons as to why people like them and why I like them, but before we get into that, I just want you to know that I do this with care and love in my heart, but if you're a Night Lords fan and you're watching this video or resent this video, I want you to sit back, buckle up, get comfortable, and just be prepared to be fucking offended. So the fans of Imperial Fists will see Imperial Fists committing war crimes or doing some kind of grim dark weirdness and be like, oh, such complicated storytelling that they have to do such things in order to be around in the modern setting. And then they likely would go off on a soliloquy about how Dorn would be disappointed in them for the next 20 to 30 minutes. Ultramarines fans tend to be a bit obsessed with elves and Guilliman, but they tend to justify all the Ultramarines' actions as, it was probably for the best interests of the Imperium. Every single chapter in Legion of Space Marines, even warbands, comes with some kind of normal response to them seeing them commit some kind of atrocity, but in response to an unnamed Night Lord committing what can best be described as a war crime without prior precedent that would make God himself weep, most Night Lord fans would respond with something akin to, just leave him alone, he's just doing hot girl shit, or something something of a similar mindset that would likely make you question the morals a bit of that individual. I'm guilty of this. I once referred to Talos skinning a bunch of weak psychers to make a warp-based weapon as just another day for the girl poppiest legion out there, which says more about me than it does about the legion, the chapter, or, ethics and morals as a whole. Hell, if you know 40k artists who draw exclusively one Legion or Primarch, the ones who draw Night Lords are often, a bit cracked and into some pretty wacky wild shit. Which, no shade, I get it. If you like the Night Lords, you like the weirdness of bloodletting and skinning. But I only shame, once again, because I am too of this ilk. I mean, with the Gilliman artists out there who draw mostly Ultramarines and Rabute Gilliman, you get a bunch of weird gay ship art, but hey, let's not mock the people for their hobbies. A lot of people are big man enjoyers in this fandom, so far be it from me to question and judge. So me poking holes into individuals who feel like they are being personally targeted, this leads me to the obvious question that I scream into my asylum room till the early hours of the morning, and that is, why? It's both simple and complicated, as is with most of these kinds of topics. Basically, the Night Lords are one of the most underdog factions in the setting, which does garner its own kind of appeal. They are beyond difficult to write for, as they tend to have a very convoluted mentality that, if you don't have a good grasp on how to write nuanced approaches to evil, it's very easy for you to write yourself into a corner where Night Lords come off as just mustache-twirling villains, because from a reductionist point of view, no, they kind of are just that, which, okay, we can see it from that perspective, but when you have individuals who understand the morals as to why, it can lead to some very interesting interactions. They are one of the few legions that have been given quite a bit of shit over the years, but the one thing to note is that most of the Legion is still basically the same as they were pre-heresy, because pre-heresy, they were a bunch of literal maniacs back then, and they are still a bunch of maniacs now, but now just with a few more spiky bits and warp-infused shit. This gives them more power to do what they wish, which is nice. There's also the unavoidable fact that the spike in Night Lord's popularity is likely due to the Night Lord's trilogy done by the GOAT Aaron Dembski Bout, which is super fair, as the Night Lord's trilogy is some of the greatest fiction I have ever read in my entire life. It is a 3-book series with some side material you can read along the way that follows a mostly non-chaos corrupted ex-apothecary by the name of Talos, as he navigates a universe that hates him, while his legion is tearing itself apart from the inside due to internal politics and all that garbage. It is one of the most interpersonal localized Warhammer stories set across a galaxy-spanning crusade of one fragment of a legion, and I think it deserves almost all of the praise that it gets. Where unlike in a lot of other 40k books, the battles in the Night Lord's trilogy hold so much weight because all of the characters are so well written, and each fight feels like it's life or death because there's no guarantee who's going to survive. Like a fight with a super possessed Chaos Marine in a normal 40k book might seem a bit meh because, the Ultramarines will rip it to pieces and survive, but in this book, where no one is safe and you care for all of the characters, it feels like one of the most climactic fights you could imagine. This book series is so amazing that it is still talked about by other content creators to this day. Like, all of the 40k lore tubers tend to pick it as it is a bit of a safe bet to gain some viewers to talk about it whenever they just kind of have a blank spot that they need to fill in, which you don't see for pretty much any other omnibus that's ever been released, like the Wordbearers omnibus or the Soul Drinkers omnibus. Sure, people make videos about them, but they don't talk about them nearly as much as they do the Night Lords. But let's shove all of that aside. Let's boil it down to the pure fact that the aesthetics of the Night Lords is absolutely goddamn crispy. The midnight blue armor, the lightning streaks, the weird obsession with cowardly tactics, the absolute insanity that is anything involving a named character is so nice. I love the idea that the way Night Lords fight is they will willingly run away like cowards from a fight, and then the second you have to they will come back and bash your head in with a rock. It's so not Space Marine-y, and I love it. And when these guys actually amass in force, it creates some of the most interesting threats in the universe because you have an entire army of cowards bolstered by sheer numbers. There is a book coming up with a Night Lord as the main antagonist. It might be out by now. I have to double check before this video goes live. But the name of the Night Lord's Chaos Champion in that book, that is primarily the main antagonist, is just the End of Saints. That's not even a name, that's a sentence, but that's the hardest title I've ever heard. The plot of the book is he is the main antagonist going up against Morvan Val. You know, the High Lord of Terra. That's a pretty high-end threat, though honestly they couldn't put this guy against any of the other Lords of Terra, because like, if he went up against Trajan, that would not be so much a fight as it would be Coughing Baby versus Hydrogen Bomb, but still, it's gonna be a cool book, and I'm gonna enjoy it. Or hate it, I don't know, at this point it's kinda up in the air. I'll make sure to let you all know when it comes out and I finish it. To wrap up everything, the reason the Night Lords are so beloved by many is because they appeal to the underdogs of the world. They appeal to people who like the dark, edgy, schizo, I am in your walls energy that they constantly exude. Though also, they're miserable to paint, I will admit, so that does dissuade a few people. So, I want to say that my reason for liking the Night Lords is the extensive characterization that most of them go through. It's almost insane how well people have to write them in order for them to even appear in a book. Though again, if you see lore snippets and codexes, they just come off as mustache-twirling villains. But there's this idea of fighting against the system that was made explicitly to destroy you, dismantle you. And because of that, it makes it so much more fun to watch them succeed and accomplish goals. The Talos speech of "it's not enough," if you look it up, it's one of the most emotional and impassioned speeches I've ever seen in 40K. It's beautiful. So there's a lot of different reasons why people like the Night Lords, but the fans of the Night Lords are way more fanatical than most other fans. So it could be the characterization, it could be the horror of it could be the edginess. Though hey, you might not like any of this, and instead you're just one of those fans who still thinks about how there's a Stockholm Syndrome pet play subplot in the Primarch novel for Curse, where he abuses some dude named like Steven for several months and then engages in aftercare for his little buddy and refers to this literal 25-year-old man as his pet. And if you do think about that a lot, then like, I get it. It's weird, but I get it. And no, nothing of what I just said was a lie. Go read the Kurz novel. That shit has some twists. Like, it starts as Alien with the xenomorph replaced with Kurz and then ends with like, yeah, it goes some places. You'll see, you'll find out. But regardless, if you agree with me that the Night Lords fans are a bit weird, then let me know in the comments. It helps the video as well as helps me know what you guys like about this. Alongside that, remember to like and subscribe as it helps the channel even more. Special thanks to my channel members for supporting me, and if you want to support me as well as gain access to additional content, then become a channel member today. Thanks again for watching. And before I go, yeah, still reeling from the pet play comments, huh? Nah, don't worry. It gets worse the more you dig into it, trust me. Just don't look up the Night Lords on Twitter. Thanks once again to Starforged for sponsoring this video.